I don't know what your definition is of success, but I have a very simple definition. How does one measure or realize that something is successful or one has been successful? People who generally say, if you're recognized in the world, if you receive an award, if you make a lot of money, if you're at a high position, so on and so forth. Maybe that works. But as far as I'm concerned, success is a very personal thing. It stems from some inner satisfaction. It's not connected to external agencies of the world. Whether you're recognized or not, whether you're awarded or not, whether you become rich or not, whether you're powerful or not, my definition of success doesn't depend on that. To be successful, you have to have some inner satisfaction and contentment that what you have done has in some ways elevated your soul or your spirit, that your core beliefs have been carried out in life, in the real world, and if you have attempted sincerely to carry them out, that is success. And so by that yardstick, to my mind, to my experience, there are some personalities, some stories connected with success, and I thought I will use this platform today to acquaint you with that. I have hardly ever spoken to young people, and I can say young people largely in this audience, at least everybody is young at heart here, without speaking about some aspect of Mahatma Gandhi's life. And I'm not going to speak about Gandhi directly today, but it will be connected with his life. I am sure you are acquainted with the fact that there was a period in Gandhiji's life during British rule when he fell ill seriously. And he was virtually on his deathbed. He was dying. Eventually, when doctors got hold of his condition and managed to put it on the right track, it was essential for his recovery to drink milk. But Gandhiji had taken a vow against drinking milk. It was a vow, and Gandhiji's vows were very sacred to him. He would stick to them, adhere to them, no matter what the cost. This had been so in his whole life, before that and even later. But he was dying. And people wouldn't know what to do. He refused to listen. He said, it is a vow and I cannot take milk. At that point in time, his wife Kasturba, whom we forget and don't remember much, came up with an extremely ingenious solution. Remember, before this, Ba herself had been ill seriously after a surgery and was dying for lack of blood. She had bled like anything after the surgery. Doctors had recommended non-vegetarian food, and she had said, I would rather die. I will not take that food. And she went through that entire ordeal and survived without breaking her vow of being a vegetarian. The same Ba now tells Gandhiji, your vow to not partake of milk is related to cows. You had never thought that you could not drink goat's milk. So why don't you take goat's milk? I don't know if you understand the import of this. We were under British rule at that time. And the yoke was pretty tight on India. And they were harming the country. We were being bled economically and politically, and our morale was down. It was important to fend off the British yoke, to take it away. And here was Gandhiji, the one man that everybody had agreed could lead India to freedom, dying. At that point in time, Kasturba comes up with this ingenious solution, that your vow related to cow's milk, and the fact is it did. Gandhiji had seen the way cows had been treated cruelly and had said, I will not take their milk. And so he began to take goat's milk, and he survived, and he led India to success in its freedom struggle. Gandhi records something interesting. He says, in my own eyes, my conscience pricked me, because I really had said I will not take milk, though I certainly had cows in mind. But He said, what could I do? I wanted to live to fight the draconian Rowlatt Act. The Rowlatt Act had just been imposed on India, and India didn't know what to do about it. And he says that will to fight that act overcame my other objections. But the path to this success, he fought off the act, by the way, he took us to freedom. But this success came from Kasturba's suggestion. Such an unusual intervention, such an unusual story. And Ba's life, though it hovered around Gandhiji, is full of such successful interventions, these unusual paths to success that Ba provided. I don't know if you have understood that Gandhi repeatedly said that he learned his lessons of nonviolence from Ba. And Gandhi never said anything lightly. So I thought I should narrate this story about Gandhi to you and Ba's role, this unusual part that she played. Not just this time, but so many other times. There's another lady I want to talk about. If you are familiar with what used to go on in the United States in the early part of the last century, that was a time when they had imposed prohibition. You could not drink alcohol in the US. There was prohibition all across. That gave rise to the mafia, and crime flourished. In 1932, an American police officer in Chicago was shot dead by criminals. And as luck would have it, somebody was arrested, convicted, and sent to prison. In 1944, a small advertisement appeared in the Chicago Times, a very small advertisement. A $5,000 reward if anyone helps me find the killers of that police officer who had died. It's a very tiny ad. But as luck would have it, it caught the attention of the editor of the Chicago Times, and he deputed a reporter to go find out who had put up that ad. So the reporter traces the person who had put up this ad. It turned out to be a frail old lady by the name of Tilly. He got talking to Tilly, wondering why she was interested in this ad. What was her connection to the death of the police officer? And that unraveled a marvelous story. It turned out that Tilly's son had been convicted of the murder of the police officer. And Tilly believed that he was innocent. But Tilly was someone who used to sweep floors. She had no resources at her command to help defend her son. So for 14 long years, Tilly kept scrubbing floors 6 days a week from morning till late evening, and kept putting aside a little bit of money. Eventually, when she had $5,000 with her, and in those days it's a reasonable sum but nothing great, she put out this small ad to help her identify the real killers of the officer. She believed that her son was innocent. Well, this reporter got so curious about the matter that here is this frail old woman with no support system in the world, no money, who has been putting aside small bits of money for 14 long years because she believes that her son is innocent and wants to make sure justice is served. So the reporter started investigating the whole story. He took his time. There was enormous resistance. The police had already secured a conviction for Tilly's son. Frank was his name. Nobody wants to unravel all that. Nobody wants to undo that. The system is settled and done with. 14 years have gone by, and many more years went by. But the reporter was spurred on by Tilly's conviction and dedication to the belief that her son was innocent. And he used that conviction that stemmed from Tilly to pursue the story. And he was a persistent man. There were one or two other people helping him. Eventually, the whole story is unraveled, and it turns out that Frank was unfairly, unjustly convicted, and he was pardoned and released from prison. That's a really unusual path to success. A mother's belief that her son is innocent, and the mother is so consistent in her belief and dedication that she works for 14 long years and even beyond so that she can keep saving money bit by bit, and help secure her son's conviction. It's such an unusual story. And once this was done, this story appeared in the Reader's Digest magazine of the United States, and it caught the attention of the public. This was long ago. No one seems to remember it now. But at that time, it caught the eye of the public. And eventually, they made a Hollywood film also on her story, Tilly Scrubbed On. That was the title of the movie. That was the title of her story in the Reader's Digest magazine. I myself had read this story when I was a child. And it has stuck in my mind all these years. What an unusual path to success. This complete, dedicated belief, not mattering what the world thinks, not afraid of how to go about it. Drop by drop, she collects this money and decides to move forward, and that ad helped click the whole thing. That's a really unusual and remarkable story. Well, there are stories like this. They go on and on and on in our life. We just don't seem to look at that. We look at all those great things of allure, those sparkling success stories of great people, movie actors, people in other realms of public life, and we look at them and we're dazzled. But the real unusual paths lie everywhere around us. We just need to look at the right things. We're all very conscious of how India is doing well in the realm of badminton, the sport, badminton. We've become a bit of a powerhouse in badminton. You must have noticed this. In the Olympics, amongst the few medals that we secured, we had a silver medal in badminton, courtesy the efforts of P.V. Sindhu, who went all the way up to the finals in the badminton at Rio. Well, very few pay greater attention to the fact that it was Sindhu's coach who played such a huge role in Sindhu's success. I speak of Pullela Gopichand. An amazing man, an amazing story. He was himself a great badminton player. In his time, in I think 2001, he won the All England badminton title. In those days, it was regarded as the unofficial world title. And Pullela Gopichand won that. He was already getting on in years, and he realized he didn't have too much time. What he really wanted India to do was win an Olympic medal. He was so keen on that. He tried, he could not succeed, and time was not on his side. So he undertook determination and a sort of vow that he will work hard to help India secure an Olympic medal. He wasn't working towards other goals. And thus he became a coach. And he began to look for protégés. You are aware of Saina Nehwal, such a success story. He trained her. He's trained a whole range of badminton stars. But there's something which makes him, in my eyes, enormously successful, which is a little removed from that. And that is because of my definition of success, which I stated right at the beginning. What was my definition? That it must give you inner satisfaction that you have done something that is true to your conscience, to the inner voice. And Gopichand did that. I am not sure how many of you are aware of this. When he won the All England and returned to India, one of the leading cola companies, soft drink firms, an international firm, offered him a huge sponsorship deal, a huge deal. I know of so many others in other sports and in the world of film who had taken up these sponsorships without thinking, without batting an eyelid. Pullela Gopichand, when he was made this offer, very quietly, without creating a fuss and no publicity, declined that offer. And he kept quiet about it. He didn't make a pomp and show. As luck would have it, one of his friends came to learn about it some months later. And then she mentioned this when she was addressing a bunch of school children, what Pullela had done. And then the press caught hold of it. The press otherwise doesn't seem to care. But it caught hold of the story. And then they went talking to Gopichand. And I remember distinctly when this broke. And they asked him, why did you decline this? And he said, I declined it because I don't believe it is a good drink. It harms children. It is a harmful drink. Well, that sounds fair enough. He was true to his conscience. He didn't believe that the drink is good no matter what the money. But the press being the press, they asked him, don't you need the money? Wouldn't it have been useful? You know what Gopichand said? I remember this, reading in the papers that long ago, that I have a house and a car, and that's all I need. I'm happy. That, to my mind, is an unusual success. To be true to yourself is success. And Gopichand demonstrated that. There have been many such stories in your life. You have to look around and learn from that. My point is, to be really successful, you have to be true to yourself. Don't worry about the world. Remember what Shakespeare said, this above all else, to thine own self be true, and you will never be false to any man. That is true and unusual success. We don't see too much of it these days, but I'm addressing a young audience in the hope that such stories will stick in your hearts and you will learn to be true to yourself. Thank you very much.